What is up, Nerds Nation? Welcome to the Effin' Nerds podcast with the most dynamic duo in all of podcasting. I'm Nick Nizio, and across from me is my guy, Martin Moreno.
What is up? Who may or may not be wearing pants. It is very early.
It's a little early in the morning on this one.
Very early. Got my Wolverine coffee. I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. So today we are reviewing The Devil All the Time, a new drama from Netflix. But before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and give us that thumbs up. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, follow us for more new content as we try to upload new episodes each week.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Sinister characters converge around a young man devoted to protecting those he loves in a post-war backwoods town teeming with corruption and brutality.
Delusions!
Delusions. The Devil All the Time is directed by Anthony Campos, based on a book by Donald Ray Pollock. The film stars Tom Holland, Bill Skarsgard, and Robert Pattinson. It currently holds a 64% in Rotten Tomatoes with an audience score of 80%.
I did not know that.
You did not know that?
I did not know the Rotten RT score.
There you go.
New information.
So, Martin, we watched this when it came out, so we're kind of like catching up to talking about this movie. Mm-hmm. Came out back in September.
Right.
What'd you think of it? Give me some of your positives for this movie.
Positives, I liked it. Initial thoughts, I really enjoyed the movie. I'm a big fan of these types of different these movies that have different stories that are somehow intertwined and interconnected. Mm-hmm. Some obvious ones are like Crash.
Right.
Or like Amores Perros, the Inarritu movie from like 2002 or 2003, I believe. Mm-hmm. But I'm a fan of those movies, and if done right, can be a lot of fun. And I thought this one, despite the fact that it was a pretty slow burn, I thought it was done fairly right. I think everyone did a good job on the acting part of it, from like the acting aspect. I thought everyone did a great job. And I loved the sort of, this kind of world that they created. It's kind of like, you said, like the back road Virginia.
Backwoods,
yeah. That whole kind of world was really intriguing, and it kind of helped set the tone in regards to sort of like eerie, creepy, like some shit's going on type of aesthetic, so to speak. Very like Kiss the Girls vibes or something like that. You know? But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I thought everyone did a great job, some more than others. And yeah, that's kind of like my general positive consensus, so to speak.
Okay. I would say I'm not as high on the movie as you, but we'll kind of get into what some of my criticisms are. But for the positives, I would say from the start is the acting. Mm-hmm. I think across the board, most of it is really solid. My standouts are kind of the people that I highlighted in my little intro. I think it's Bill Skarsgård. I think it's Tom Holland, and I think it's Robert Pattinson.
For me, Tom Holland, not so much. I would actually you can keep going, and I'll go.
Well, I mean, for them, Bill Skarsgård kind of kicks things off. He plays Tom Holland's father, like before, like kind of like in like the past, and like he kind of carries, I would say, a good like 30 minutes of this movie where it's just focused on him. I would say, and I think he does a fantastic job. And because the way like his character is like a little like gets a little twisted at the end there, and
some like PTSD.
Yeah, like PTSD and shit. And when he starts to, lose after he loses his wife, and he just completely goes off like the deep end and everything. And it's just like how he's able to just kind of like switch it, and just from his look, and also knowing that's Pennywise, it's just like, this guy can play crazy.
But he did a good job just like straying away from the sort of Pennywise persona.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I bought him as this character.
Right. I didn't really like. You see Pennywise sometimes when he smiles, like when he gets a little loose, because you're like, that's his Pennywise. But other than that, he did a really good job. I would say there's
not a lot of smiling in this movie at all, really.
No, but when he gets like sinister, like when he's in the car and he's getting a little crazy, he's getting nuts. Yeah. You want to get nuts?
Yeah.
Come on. Let's get nuts.
You can see like some of like the crazy sort of Pennywise like facial expressions.
Right.
But that's just being obviously a fan of the movie and just of how like massive those films were.
Right. You know? And I remember too, when we were talking about the trailer, I said like I was hoping that this would be like a really like a breakout for him to kind of break away from that Pennywise thing. And I don't know what the general reception has been for him specifically, but like for me personally, I thought he did a fantastic job, and I really hope this leads to more roles like this in the future.
Right, because you still haven't seen Villains.
No, I haven't.
Which I'm down to watching. It's like it's like a fun horror comedy thriller type of thing. But he also does a really good job in that film of kind of straying away from that sort of Pennywise persona.
Right.
Like we said, here he did it too, but there were just those moments when he gets a little crazy that you just can't help but to like almost revert back to that sort of Pennywise personification, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah.
Right.
So actually, we'll save because I'll talk about Tom Holland, but I feel like you're going to talk about him maybe in your negative. So I feel like that's when I'll discuss with that. But I'll jump to Robert Pattinson, who for me
Illusions.
like there's been a little bit of criticism for Pattinson on his accent and
What? Really?
if he's a little over the top. Well, because people are saying the authenticity of it. And
what
if
authenticity? He sounds like a preacher.
If it's cartoony or whatever, like there are some people from the South that say that's not an accent they heard of, but then there are other people who are being like, no, that's totally a legit accent. But if we're gonna stick on the accent for a second, so I watched an interview with him and the director, where the director was kind of interviewing him. They were over like a Zoom call, and he talked about like how he basically didn't work with a dialect coach; he just developed it himself. And the director didn't even know. I know, right? It's because it's like as soon as I heard that story, I'm like, yep, this totally sounds like Robert Pattinson. But he crafted it, and nobody heard this accent until the day that they started shooting, like for his character.
Awesome.
So it was one of those things where the director was like, I'm a little nervous. He goes, but like I know who Rob is, so like it just made like I wasn't worried that he was going to deliver something bad. Like it was going to be interesting either way. And he also said that he kind of evoked a little Elvis Presley into his accent, which to me makes sort of sense because if you know the character, he's kind of a con man, throughout the whole movie, and him not having a legit, maybe like a legit authentic Southern accent to me just fits the character that of him just being a complete con man trying to fool people.
Right, because it can be like someone trying to do an accent in the movie.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But the question is, the problem with that is like how many people are going to pick that up?
Right.
Right.
I
Like
mean,
us nerds probably will,
right.
but the general
Well, we're
audience,
here to tell you guys.
Yeah, the general audience probably wouldn't.
But just for him in general, he's not in the movie a ton, but I just feel like he was just like operating at a completely different level than the rest of the actors.
Yeah, man, he's. I'm telling you, dude, Robert Pattinson's just slowly becoming the ultimate just scene stealer.
Yeah.
Like with he just keeps growing. He keeps getting better and better. We just saw him in Tenet. He sold every single scene in Tenet. And I was looking forward to seeing him in this, and he finally showed up, and I was like, yes.
Yes.
It's like that excitement of seeing someone that seeing an actor that you really like. And I'm with you. I thought his accent was great. I really enjoyed his character being this sort of like scumbag, con man, preacher, so to speak. And just being an asshole on purpose, like when he insults Tom Holland's mom in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Just to
was it with the chicken livers?
Yeah, to be an asshole, like because I'm sure it tasted delicious, but he probably knew like, oh, she's seen as like the best cook in town, so I'm just gonna be an asshole and probably oust her in front of everyone.
Well, you know what's funny about that is I kind of looked at it a different way. I looked at it that he thought it was so good he didn't want anybody else to have it. So he insulted it and was like, no one else is gonna have this, so I'm gonna eat this shitty food, to benefit the rest of you. When in reality, like it was probably the best food there, and he wanted it all for himself.
But instead of like, but again, regardless, it just goes to show what a kind of person. Like, he doesn't want to share.
Yes, he doesn't want to share.
Regardless, he's like, no, that's mine. Get the fuck out. I don't care if the Lord brought it for everyone. It's for me. Because I don't give a shit. Because in reality, he doesn't even care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah, but to me, aside from Robert Pattinson and Bill Skarsgård, I gotta be 100% honest, dude. Dudley Dursley. What a comeback.
What a comeback, bro.
What a fucking comeback. Okay, first of all, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you don't like the Dursleys.
Yeah.
Like they're probably some of the biggest villains in the Harry Potter universe. Like you just hate them. And then we get him in Olgard, and he's just this like fuckboy villain. It's like so stupid.
Like it was almost like a twist on like supposed to be like Social Network kind of thing with Mark Zuckerberg mixed with like other.
You didn't buy anything. You didn't buy anything. But when he comes on screen and he does his whole spider.
Oh, that whole preaching spider thing. Wild, yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Good for you, dude. As someone who you kind of just like I said, grow up hating as Dudley, and you see him again in Olgard, you're just like, fuck this guy. But he comes on, completely has this like amazing scene with the spiders, and really shows us, I guess he like for the honest shows off what he can do.
Right.
I thought his accent was good.
Yeah, I did
thought
too.
Like I said, his acting was really good, and to me, he's probably like the standout only because of just how much, like, I didn't expect that from him. Like the fact that he came on and he showed off what he could do,
and to have some sort of screen presence.
Exactly. Like that's that scene, man. When because it's like a long tracking shot.
Yes.
Like he's coming here and it's like a pretty long track shot. The camera's getting a little fancy, working around him, and you're being pulled into it, and you're like, and you completely lose yourself in this scene, and he's a big part of that just because of how he was able to like work the screen, work the camera, and like Good for him.
Right.
What a bounce back.
Yeah,
You're the comeback player of the year.
You're the comeback player. And then, I mean, I 100% agree with that. And then, because there's also the scene where he kills his wife.
Yeah, which fucking came out of
and
nowhere.
Came out of nowhere, but like
nowhere.
But like I bought like that crazy religious fanatic. You know what I mean? Like, because like it felt like authentic seeing that happen. Because I'm like, yeah, I know how some people can just go nuts with religion,
and bro.
And like that's legit. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
And fucking movie karma. He put Harry under the stairs. He trapped him there under the stairs, and now he was trapped in a fucking closet for like X amount of weeks.
Exactly.
Like, that's what you get,
karma, bro.
Movie karma, in its purest form.
And then, so before we move on to our negatives, I just want to shout out Jason Clarke and Riley Coe.
Yeah.
Is it Riley Coe or Riley?
I don't know if it's Riley Coe or
Cuff. I feel bad because I don't know if it's Cuff or Coe.
And I love her.
Yeah, I know.
I love her.
Yeah.
And,
I gotta watch some interviews, see if somebody like actually says her name so I can get it right.
Right, but I feel like she's great, and I just feel like she just doesn't get the recognition she deserves. I think it's also just a lot has to do with the projects that she picks. She picks a lot of like smaller, under the radar projects, so she doesn't really get to shine.
Right.
I think like Mad Max was probably her biggest movie.
Yeah, it probably was.
You know, but she's done a lot of these sort of like, when you think of like The Lodge, It Comes at Night, the Lucky Logan.
Oh yeah, Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky. This, like, she has a lot of smaller under the project movies, and I really enjoy her in all of them. And when she comes on screen and she does that like smile, it's like her like cheeks are clenched. It's like a Southern smile.
Yeah.
Like she literally went and she practiced how Southerners like smile.
Right, like the mannerisms and
exactly. And that just goes to show of what a dedicated actress she is. And I thought she like her kind of character arc.
It's like arc, yeah.
Yeah, throughout the film was one that I really enjoyed.
Well, you know what's funny too is because they like both her and Jason Clarke. And first of all, Jason Clarke, I feel like could play this character in his sleep.
Yeah.
Because just by his look alone, and then
he looks like he hasn't slept.
And then just because he's such a really great actor, like just the character he is, I feel like he could walk in and just do that with his eyes closed. You know what I mean? That's just how talented he is. He can play a lot of
sinister roles. Like, like you said, he just has that face, that sort of look.
Yeah.
That almost looks like he hasn't slept in forever.
Yes.
And he's just like he's losing his shit.
Right.
He's like on the verge of losing his shit all the time.
But for Riley, I think she like this movie's filled with despicable characters, and they're probably two of the most despicable in the movie.
Yeah.
But I was oddly rooting for her to get away at the end.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know why, and I think that's just a credit to how good she was at playing the character and creating sympathy for her. But for whatever reason, like towards like the end, like as things were wrapping up, I was like, I hope she kind of gets away.
No, because because again, it's like that sort of arc, and then because the movie's jumping back and forth a lot,
right? And
then when we jump to her, we get like a sudden jump to her out of nowhere, and she's like, we've obviously kind of known what's happened over these past couple of years, but we get to a point in her, I guess, sort of life journey, so to speak, with this dude where she's just kind of over it.
Right.
And you're always kind of rooting for that girl who knows she deserves better, doesn't want to be with the asshole,
yes.
blah, blah. Oh, speaking of Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
The cast is amazing.
The cast is amazing.
Even like Mia Wachowski.
Yes.
Who's
only in it for a little bit, but it's almost like you need like these solid character actors to fill out like this world. Mm-hmm. And she just has like, and how she's done up, her look, what she's wearing, and then just her acting, like I didn't even recognize that it was her for a second. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
think the director or whoever the casting director was, because we can't say it enough, casting directors are like some of the biggest like unsung heroes.
Oh, they need their own Oscar category.
They definitely do, man.
Like a best ensemble, like they need an Oscar category.
Because I feel like the casting director for this found not just necessarily the big names, but they found people who can play to the strengths of the characters in this movie. Right. And obviously Mia Wachowski, like if you watch interviews with her, she's very awkward in real life. Like she kind of like doesn't, like whenever you see her on stage or something, like she's like very awkward, like she doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So I felt like they were like, okay, we need this sort of like, I guess like kind of like unsure character, because she was supposed to marry Bill Skarsgård, but she fell in love with the preacher after this whole spider thing.
Yeah.
But they found someone who was like a little like timid, a little shy, kind of like reserved, and I thought she played like her, I guess, sort of like natural strengths played really well to that character.
I would agree.
And we pretty much spent this last couple of minutes saying like the acting all around was probably the biggest strengths of the movie.
Yes, for me, my only positives I think are the acting. That's kind of what I guess somewhat saved the movie for me. But we'll get into all that. So Martin, give me your negatives for the movie.
Well, I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, we have a live audience.
We do have a live audience.
We got a live audience and we got drugs. It's about to be a party.
I'll throw in a couple hits of this. Scat, my own recipe, guaranteed to jack you up.
But my negatives for me, I thought the voiceover made the movie go a little slower because it was just like the movie itself. It's slow. It's a very slow film.
Right.
Like we got to that point where I was like, how much fucking time's left in this movie? And I paused it. Like we get to a point where it's like where like some shit goes down.
Yeah,
it's like a very climactic.
It's a very crucial moment.
Yeah, it's a very climactic point. Actually, we're already talking spoilers.
We're talking spoilers. Yeah, so go ahead.
But we get to the point where Tom Holland's character kills Robert Pattinson's character.
Yes.
And that's obviously like a big point in the film. It's a very climactic point, and you kind of almost as an audience member, you kind of assume that the film is somewhat wrapping up. But up to that point, it just felt like we were on this for a while. So I'm like, all right, how much fucking time's left? So I paused, and it was like another 40 minutes.
I know.
And not just that, but we were only like an hour and a half into the movie. And I was like, what the fuck? But the movie itself is very slow, which isn't something that it's not necessarily a negative because I don't mind slow films. But I thought that the voiceover kind of made it go by a little bit slower, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
because it's like it's already dragging, and then we get this voiceover,
and it's just very monotone, and
and it's almost like it almost kind of kills the sort of momentum of the film.
Right.
But other than that, look, I'll be honest, I haven't seen much praise for Tom Holland, other than the fact that he was solid in the movie.
Right.
But I think he did a good job. I do think that he struggled with his accent a little bit at certain points in the film. And I think that the one scene where he was supposed to kind of come in and be like Big Dick Tom and beat up these people in the garage, I thought was super soft. It was like almost as bad as Robert De Niro in The Irishman, like stepping on the guy.
Yeah.
Like, cause he's like in there, he's like hitting them, and he's like trying to be tough, but it just looked soft. Like I didn't buy it.
It's weird too because I would agree with you on that because obviously Tom Holland has somewhat of a fighting background when it comes to choreography, being Spider-Man. And maybe it was just the fact that the choreography for this just wasn't done right. Wasn't done right. You know what I mean? Because watching how, I watch, I think it's called it's like
Cobra Kai.
No, not Cobra Kai. It's Corridor Crew. That's it. It's Corridor Crew on YouTube, and they have a stuntman come on.
Stuntman?
Yeah,
You're kind of pretty for a stuntman.
that's what they tell me.
And they basically just analyze like stunts in movies and say, I told you about this. Like, what's a good stunt? What's a bad stunt? And, watching this, I feel like that whoever choreographed it, either they did it late and Tom Holland didn't have enough time to practice the choreography to make it look more fluid, or it just was not good choreography.
Yeah, it just looked soft. Yeah, that's what it is. Like, because what I'm saying about like in Robert De Niro, like you can tell that's like a old man
trying to stomp somebody,
trying to stomp with someone's hand, and you just don't buy that the person's in pain.
Right.
Same thing here when he comes in and he's like punching the people. The garage scene is the one that I'm referring to. When he attacks the person on the bus, that one wasn't as bad. Yeah. Because that one I kind of bought a little bit more into. But that one when he's supposed to be this sort of like tough guy and supposed to like take, I guess like kind of be like his dad. Right. Like when he kind of comes, because like when Bill Skarsgård beats those people up, I bought it.
Oh, I bought it too.
I bought that shit 100%. And when he's kind of coming in and trying to be that role and be that person, like that's just where it kind of like
kind of falls flat.
Yeah, and other than that, like I said, his accent was a little rough at times, but I thought he did a fine job too.
No, I thought he did pretty good too, and like because I think the big criticism for him is can he act outside of being Spider-Man? And if you've seen The Impossible, he can. He can. Like he has that ability, and I thought that like he's not going to win any Oscars for this, but he was good, and he was good enough to show that he's an actor.
And he was good. And he was also good, similar to Bill Skarsgård with Pennywise. I think he was good enough to shake off that sort of MCU persona.
I would agree.
Sebastian Stan, I think, has done enough. Like I think Sebastian's an amazing actor, and I think he's done more than enough to kind of shake. When you think of like I, Tonya, like all these other films,
definitely,
he's done more enough to shake off that sort of Bucky Barnes persona. Right. So now it's kind of his job to do so, and I think he did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, I would say too. Going into some of my negatives, I'm going to come back to the narration, but what I'll say is for the story. While I have no problem with anthology stories, I actually really like not anthology stories, but like stories where everything's kind of connected, kind of like Pulp Fiction or like you said, Crash, like where it's just all these different stories going on simultaneously and they all kind of converge. I thought it was good, but for whatever reason, this movie, I felt like I was watching bullet points of characters. Like, oh, here's a bullet point, like line, like, and this is what happens, and this is what happens. But like, there wasn't enough meat and potatoes in the movie. Like, there wasn't enough stuff. And I felt like a lot of times when these
more beef.
When a lot of these things happen, like I feel like there's not enough emotional weight to it for me to care. Right. And that was kind of like my thing watching a lot of this stuff. Like to me, this would have worked so much better as like a 10-episode miniseries.
And you told me that, and I 100% agree with you, because for me personally, I would have loved like a maybe I don't know, maybe 2 hours, but maybe like an hour 45. That's
Right.
just me being specific and
Right.
being weird. But like a longer portion of following Riley Cobb's character and Jason Clarke's character.
I would agree. Yeah.
I love that whole notion of like this guy being like, hey, you know, like their whole sort of like a click and bait thing that they were
Yes.
doing
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
people. They're kind of like Bonnie and Clyde scheme that they had
With way more sinister twist to it.
Way
yeah.
more, like I'm pretty sure they chopped that dude's dick off.
I think they did.
I've lost my mojo.
Oh my god, like this shit is real.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like because we get like the first victim, you know, of Dudley,
Right.
and just like that whole kind of like that moment that we have with him, where he's even saying like, oh, we'll get better.
Yeah.
Like I want to see some of that. I want to see some of like the progression and maybe some more like the victims, like a more twisted, sinister movie.
Right.
But yeah, there were certain characters whose stories I would have preferred to like get a little bit more of. Like I agree with you. Like if we got like a 1 hour thing of just Bill Skarsgård, and then 1 hour thing of them, and then you know maybe like the preacher's backstory of how he came to Virginia.
Yeah, because when we get to that scene where Tom Holland confronts Robert Pattinson, like, you know, it ends with him getting shot, but like, I feel like I needed to see Robert Pattinson be more sinister throughout the movie in order for me to really feel the weight of Tom Holland pulling that trigger. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like when it happens, I'm like, all right. And that's the other thing too. Like so many people get murked in this movie to the point where I'm just like, all right, another person got shot. All right, another person got shot. All right, another character got killed, and I just didn't really care half the time.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like if we did a little bit of a more deep dive on these characters, I thought as an anthology series can probably work really well.
Yeah. So I'll go back to my other big thing that I absolutely hated was the narration.
Yeah.
I hated the narration.
Yeah, it was
like
not great.
to the point where it at one point was really ruining the movie for me because it's like the narration was actually done by the writer of the book. That was the guy who narrated it. And I don't know if
Did he have a clause in the story like you gotta put me in this movie? You want my rights.
Maybe he did, but like first of all, how he was doing the narration reminded me more of. You remember the narration, Me, Myself, and Irene?
Yes.
It reminded me more of
Dude,
that, and I feel like
100%.
they were going for Martin Sheen and Apocalypse Now, but what I got was Me, Myself, and Irene. Like I was more like that.
Irene didn't know that Hank pulled a fast one.
Exactly. Like
Yes.
that's what it sounded like,
That's
bro.
100% true. Yeah.
And like,
damn it, now I can't watch that movie without thinking it.
But that was my biggest thing is like I had no like there were points where the narration comes in and it kind of fills you in and like, oh, like there was one point where Tom Holland's character, I guess there was a time jump and it's like now he's working at this place now, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. You want to fill me in on what the character's doing just to kind of help the story move along a little bit easier? Totally fine. But like, there's a scene in the church where Robert Pattinson's trying to do his thing, and he's talking, and the narration's narrating over him talking. And it's like, bro, like I don't need to hear you telling me what the character's thinking. Let him act so I can focus on what he's thinking. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing. Like these actors are here to do their job. And like they're the ones that are going to convey the emotion. I don't need somebody narrating, telling me how they're feeling. Let me see.
I think that happened
how they're
also
acting.
in the spider scene too.
I think it did too.
Because I think that's what because again, like we were really like engaged in the spider scene, and then the narration comes off, and it's like that. Like you just kind of like brings down the movie and slows it down even more.
That's what I mean. It's like, dude, like I don't need you to tell me what's going on right now. Like let me watch these actors do their thing. This is why they're here. They're here to crush it. Right. I don't need you to tell me that they're crushing it. You know, that was my whole thing, and it damn near like fucking ruined it for me. Like that's how bad it was.
Oh well, if Netflix is listening next time, maybe
no narration, bro.
No narration, but
I mean, narration's good. Like when you have like Shawshank. Or like I said, like Apocalypse Now, like narration can be a really useful tool when used right. And here I think it was used. I think it was used to the worst abilities
that
here.
That sort of narration, like you're talking about, in Me, Myself, and Irene worked.
That's what I mean. Or Me, Myself, and Irene, like it works in that.
Definitely
you know,
works in that movie. But here, not so much. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Well, it seems old Hank had pulled a fast one. And if that wasn't bad enough, there was more trouble right around the corner.
And one more thing that I want to kind of come back to in sort of terms of positives. I remember when we were talking about the trailer premiere, and they were really selling it. They were really selling the director's name.
Yes.
And then we looked back and we had no idea. Like the guy hadn't really done much. But I think they were selling the director based on the fact of that this could have possibly be a hit. So they were like, it's from this guy. So now moving forward, okay, it's from this guy, the one who directed that all the time. Because moving forward, I'm actually excited to see what the director's going to do next.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't mention. I did like the directing in this movie. Like I did not have a problem. Like I said, my biggest issues were there not being enough story and the narration. That's what really brought the movie down for me. But his directing was not a negative for me.
No,
I think they did a really good job.
only time that I had issues with the directing was in that garage scene with Tom Holland.
Right,
that was like
correct.
the only time.
Which is surprising because I'm pretty sure he's directed episodes of The Punisher, so I thought he would have kind of had more of a better fight choreography background. You know.
Yeah, just like I want to feel it. Like I want to feel the him like putting down the law, like bringing what's that metaphor, the hammer.
Bringing down the hammer.
Is that it?
I think that's it. Just bringing down the hammer.
Putting the hammer down. I don't know.
You want me to put the hammer down?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Avengers, but at the same time, like I'm drawing like whatever that fucking metaphor is.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
I want to see him like putting the hammer down.
Yeah.
Metaphor.
That doesn't sound right. Whatever.
It's fine.
Whatever. I don't care.
All right, Martin. So, how would you score The Devil All the Time?
7.9.
7.9.
7.9. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie for the most part. I really enjoyed it. Thought the acting was great. Again, the fact that I should have looked up his name. I apologize, but Dudley Dursley, comeback player of the year, especially after the shit show of a performance that he did
in the Old Guard.
Yeah. And I'm a sucker for these movies.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for these types of like different stories intertwining movies. And we get that one point where, remember when Tom Holland's like hitchhiking?
Yeah.
And then I'm like right away, you're like, oh, he's gonna get picked up. He's gonna get picked up by them. He's gonna get picked up by them, and he does. And then the whole climax of how everything kind of I guess sort of wraps up. Like, yes, I agree with you. I would have liked to have more time with certain characters and certain character stories. But overall, I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna go 7.9.
7.9. Okay, I'm going 6.1.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, was like I think the movie is worth watching for the acting and some of the directing, but other than that, I think it's a story that falls flat in a lot of I think the first 30 minutes with Bill Skarsgård to me were the best. In terms of like how it's flowing and getting invested in these characters. But after that, it's a bit scattershot. I think there's not enough of some certain characters and some story threads just kind of end up really going nowhere, especially when everyone just starts dying and I really just don't care that everyone's getting killed. And that narration is just absolutely awful. So for me, it's a movie that I'll watch Pattinson scenes on YouTube just to see some delusion speech. But other than that, I'm kind of not gonna revisit it.
The more we talk about it, the more I just kind of want to see like a Riley Cuff, like because the Sebastian Stan's character story is very intertwined with hers.
With hers, being brother and sister,
right?
Yeah,
and all like the shitty shit that he's doing,
right.
Aside from coming into Pepsi cups, aside from that, but like remember when he finds the photos and we're just seeing all these creepy photos like in like the red room. Right. Or like the green room, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
where he's like, so I wanted more of that, like I know I already said it, but some more of that sinister kind of shit that they were up to. Like that to me was like the biggest thing. Like I wanted more of that.
More story. Of that, yeah.
And just how like when like I said, that innocent smile, like that little peachy smile that she does, like how she just turns from this sort of like innocent country girl to like fucking Bonnie and Clyde murder, luring people and shit. So yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. But all right, so that does it for us, Nerds Nation. Have you seen The Devil All the Time? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you just a really big fan of Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson, so you give the movie a pass because you love it so much?
Tom Holland more so.
Tom Holland's got some crazy fans,
a little
bro.
Scary. A little. I don't know. Once we blow up, we're definitely gonna have those crazy fans.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with it. But we gotta start mentally preparing.
I hear you, man.
It's only a matter of time.
But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube page. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you can see that big, beautiful FN logo. Anything else you want to add, Martin, or is that it?
Nope. Go check it out and then come back and comment.
Yeah,
Let us know what you think.
Definitely. All right, guys.
Love to interact.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.